You must pick one thing and stick to it forever.
What about like 2 things?
No, forever.
One thing?
Ever.
I can't do just one thing. This was my nightmare. That in order to be successful, I had to stick to one thing forever. Every day, this is the advice being passed around online. 10,000 hours, the one thing, deep work. But something no one talks about is, what if you can't pick just one thing? This was me for years, getting excited about something and then losing interest after a short amount of time and moving on to the next thing, never really getting any traction. So that's why in this video, I want to share 5 frameworks that help me stick to one thing for the last 5 years. So hopefully they can help you out too. First, we have to remind ourselves why it's so important to pick one thing: speed. The fox that chases 2 rabbits catches neither. 5 years ago, I was that fox. I was interested in drumming, rapping, comedy, business, poetry. I was once involved in 6 different businesses at the same time.
6 businesses? Man, you must have been successful.
No, not even close. I was broke and going through it financially and mentally. I eventually realized the hard way that there's only so much time in a day. And I could spend that time to go one step in a million directions or go a million steps in one direction. Learning this was a breakthrough for me, and it came by force when my business partner said, you have to give up all the other 6 businesses that you're doing in order to start this joint venture with me. I knew it was the right decision, but in order to fully commit, I used framework number 1. Replace never with not now. We live in a world with fast food and fast weight loss clinics because we want everything now. If I don't have it today, then I'm never gonna have it. But it's just not true. I wish I understood this sooner. When you decide to not do something, you're not saying no to it. You're just saying not now. Take my 5-year-old niece, for example. If she asks me for something and I say no, she's probably gonna bust out crying and we're gonna have a huge problem. But if she asks me for something and I say not right now, she's usually fine. But sometimes she cries either way.
Not now. I like that, but how do I know which one to pick first?
The effort impact scale can help with that. This is what we call picking the lowest hanging fruit. What is something that if you did, wouldn't take that much more effort to get a higher impact? It's good to evaluate opportunities in this way because often we think about, hey, it's gonna give me this result, I'm gonna make this much money, I'm gonna have this crazy outcome. But we don't think about how much effort is actually gonna go into it relative to the outcome that we'll receive. But where we don't wanna end up is with things that are high effort and low impact. Those should almost never be done. Those are delegated or just simply not necessary. And the low effort, low impact, where we waste a lot of time. We waste a lot of time doing things that feel good, but really don't move the needle. So when you're thinking about what opportunity you wanna follow next, or even creating your to-do list, think about things that are low effort, high impact.
Okay, but what about when you have an idea that's so good, you can't wait, like you gotta do it now, and you're like, bro, this could change the world.
That's why you create a possible futures folder. I was introduced to this idea by Derek Sivers in an interview he did with Jay Klaus, where you basically have a folder on your computer. I use Notion, and you dump all of your thoughts, dreams, ideas, concepts into that folder related to that idea. Then you close it up, wipe your hands of it, and go back to your one thing. So once you're ready to come back to that idea, you can easily see where you left off. But the other reason this is really valuable is because you see how many of the ideas you've had aren't really that great. Whoa, maybe you were excited about this thing once, but now 2 weeks later, you're like, that's actually not that good of an idea. And the opposite can also happen. You'll be like, oh, that was just a random idea, but now it keeps coming back in your mind. You keep adding more and more and more. Now you're set up with the skeleton of what could be your next one thing.
The next one thing. I thought we were sticking to one thing forever. When do I move on?
There's a book by Mike McCallowitz called The Pumpkin Plan that gave me a lot of clarity when I was building my student housing marketing agency. And it likens growing a business to growing a pumpkin. In order to grow a big pumpkin, you have to cut off all the other small pumpkins that are growing on the vine. But eventually that pumpkin grows as big as it can, and you have to plant more seeds. Knowing if it's time to plant another seed comes down to how big your pumpkin is. How big do you think it could get? Do you have enough experience or money from this pumpkin to safely move on to the next idea? There's no perfect way to know when you should move on from an idea and go to the next one. But one rule of thumb is when you walk away from that pumpkin or that idea, you want to make sure it's something you can look back on and know you maximized for yourself.
I think I get it. I have a lot of ideas. I should pick one. I'm not saying no to the others. I'm just saying not now. I keep investing in that idea until the point that it's grown or I feel like I've done everything I can with it. And how do I remember all this again?
Just ask the magic question. What is the one thing that if I did would make all others easier or unnecessary? In order for this question to make sense, you have to know what you're optimizing for and what problem you need to solve in your own life. When I was broke and I could barely pay rent, it would have been great for me to be focused on becoming a full-time musician. But what I needed was to pay rent. So I ended up getting a part-time job at Applebee's, so I didn't have to worry about my rent being paid. I could work on the business during the day and then go to Applebee's at night. People often ask us, what do you want, to figure out our goals? But quite often I find it easier to figure out what don't you want that you have in your life right now. What's actually causing you pain and you wish it was different? Think about the problem that is causing you the most pain in your life that if you solved would make all the others easier or unnecessary. Then get to work on that as your one thing. Those are the 5 frameworks that have helped me stick to one thing. I wish I knew this 5 years ago. It would have saved me so much time. If this brought you any value, please let me know in the comments. I'm trying a different style. I do a lot of skits on here, but I'm also trying to bring little nuggets that I'm learning along the way. But until then, I plan on seeing you in the next video. See ya.